For days, reporters had been waiting. Cameras were allowed only outside the building, but even from the sidewalk, you could feel the tension humming in the air. Every journalist sensed something was coming. Every attorney whispered their own theories. And every spectator wondered whether Kelly Ripa, America's longtime morning show sweetheart, would finally speak for herself after a week of swirling controversy that seemed to grow larger by the hour. The lawsuit surrounding Mark Consuelos had gained massive national attention, and speculation had become so fierce that the courthouse felt less like a legal venue and more like the final act of a public drama unfolding in real time. So when Kelly finally stood up, something in the room shifted. Everything stopped. Even the faint murmuring from the back rows dissolved. The silence became thick, heavy, almost ceremonial. If there is one thing people consistently say about Kelly Ripa, it's that she carries a presence far bigger than her size. She doesn't rely on theatrics. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't need to. Her composure is her power, and her sincerity is her anchor. The moment she stood, people straightened in their seats without realizing it. Her posture was flawless, her face calm, her movements deliberate and grounded. It wasn't the performance of a television host. It was the quiet command of a woman who had spent decades being scrutinized, yet remained entirely in control of her own story. Witnesses later said it felt like watching a masterclass in grace under pressure. Even the judge, a man who had undoubtedly seen thousands of attorneys and public figures over the years, seemed to lean forward slightly, as if he sensed something meaningful was about to happen. And then Kelly spoke. She began with a single sentence, soft, steady, but carrying more weight than anyone expected. She said that truth cannot be defined by headlines, hashtags, or public opinion, but by the integrity of the people willing to stand up for it. The words were gentle, almost conversational, yet they landed like a hammer. They cut through the noise, the rumors, the assumptions, and the swirling narratives that had threatened to swallow Mark's case whole. Kelly didn't raise her voice. She didn't try to convince. She clarified. She reminded the court and the world that justice is not a popularity contest, nor is it a stage for spectacle. It is a sacred responsibility that demands focus, honesty, and the ability to separate emotion from evidence. Her tone was steady and measured, but beneath that calm exterior, you could feel the fierce devotion of a woman protecting the people she loves, without turning the moment into a show. People held their breath because they knew they weren't just hearing a statement, they were witnessing a moment. As Kelly continued, she shifted from the specifics of the case to something larger, something deeper, something that resonated far beyond that courtroom. She spoke about the responsibility shared by the legal community and the public alike to protect truth, even when fear, frustration, and internet noise threaten to drown it out. She spoke about how quickly people forget that justice must always protect the vulnerable, those without a platform, those without power, and yes, even those whose fame often becomes a burden when judgment replaces understanding. One observer described her approach as surgical. She wasn't attacking anyone. She wasn't defending anyone blindly. She was restoring balance, bringing the focus back to what mattered, back to facts, back to humanity. That clarity pierced through the theatrical chaos that had engulfed the case for days. And when Kelly finished, a stillness descended over the room like a physical weight. There was no applause, of course. This was a courtroom, but the silence itself felt like a standing ovation, respectful, reverent, almost protective. The judge looked moved, not emotional, but reflective. Attorneys exchanged glances, some surprised, some impressed, others visibly unsettled by how decisively Kelly had reframed the entire narrative with just a few paragraphs of honest truth. Witnesses later said it felt like watching a masterclass in grace under pressure. Even the journalists seated in the final row, people used to spinning a dozen stories out of a single sentence, seemed momentarily unsure of what to write first. They weren't just covering a legal update. They had just witnessed a moment of humanity, in a place where humanity is too often lost among procedures, deadlines, and legal jargon. Those present said they would never forget the emotional tone in the room. It was the kind of moment that forces everyone to pause and reconsider what justice really means and what it should never become. But what made Kelly Ripa's statement extraordinary was not just her sincerity. It was the ripple effect. Her words didn't end when she stopped speaking. They echoed outward. They spread across social media within minutes, but this time, something unusual happened. The reaction was thoughtful, not explosive. People paused. They listened. Legal experts began analyzing her message not as gossip, but as a reminder of the role each of us plays in how we consume public narratives. Commentators praised her for bringing dignity, clarity, and accountability back into a conversation that had become dangerously crowded with speculation and sensationalism. Many called her statement a reset button for the entire case. Instead of letting the lawsuit turn into another chapter of entertainment for the public, Kelly reminded everyone that truth is something deeper and far more sacred. She reminded people that justice is not a performance, not a headline, not a story to be twisted for clicks or ratings. It is a process designed to uphold integrity, and it collapses when treated like a spectacle. Looking back, some say this may become one of the defining moments of Kelly Ripa's public life. Not because it was loud, not because it was emotional, but because it was grounded in truth. Kelly Ripa didn't just stand up for Mark Consuelos in that courtroom. She stood up for something bigger. The importance of preserving humanity in a world that increasingly demands entertainment instead of understanding. Her words lifted the conversation from controversy back to principle. She didn't just speak, she reset the tone for everyone listening. And in doing so, she reminded the world why voices like hers, calm, grounded, and unfaltering, are so essential, especially in moments when confusion threatens clarity. Thank you for watching this in-depth look at one of the most powerful courtroom moments in Kelly and Mark's long, intertwined journey. If you enjoyed this emotional breakdown and want more videos like it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button right now. Your support helps us continue sharing the most compelling, insightful stories from around the world. Stay tuned, stay informed, and stay inspired. Because moments like this deserve to be remembered.